Hey there, this is Peter Branch, and today we will be making a cleaver. I've never actually made anything with such a wide blade like this, so it's mostly just experimenting. The only forging that I actually want to be doing on this is just to straighten it out and smash the blade down thin, the actual cutting edge. Mainly because when I go to grind it fine, I don't want any deep hammer dings in the actual body itself, because I don't want it to be like a rustic blade. I want the handle to actually be a little bit taller than the body of the blade, because I just thought that that would look kind of cool. This handle is actually going to be a little bit small. It'll work because I'll make sure it's a little bit wider than usually, but yeah. It's actually a little bit awkward to be working with this bench grinder because the wheel is like the same size as the body of the grinder itself. So sometimes the body gets in the way. Right now I'm just roughing out the shape. I'll refine it later on the belt sander. My handle is a little bit long for what I want, so I will be cutting that off later with an angle grinder. I know I'm wearing a coat, but that is just to protect my shirt. It's actually not cold down there, and in fact with the coat it's rather warm. I mean, on the other hand, with the gloves and the mask and the big coat, it does make me look like a really big, tough dude. It was actually quite satisfying to realize that the end of my cleaver was the same shape as the wheel, so I could just put it on there like that. I'm collecting all the metal grindings throughout this entire process so I can make a knife later out of it. By the end of this project, I collected almost 1 jar full. Fun fact, the belts I'm actually using right now are not even meant for grinding metal. I have no idea why I bought these belts, but I did. So this took an eternity to grind, because they're also super dull. As you can see, I swapped over to aluminum oxide belts, which were actually cutting faster than the other belts, and aluminum oxide belts are like basically bottom of the line. I should have bought ceramic belts, but I didn't. I'm actually going to skip ahead to the part where I got the ceramic belts, so you guys don't have to watch me struggle trying to use these aluminum oxide belts the entire time. There we go, now you're all caught up. And now with these ceramic belts, I can really actually make progress on thinning this blade. Now it's basically ground down. There's just a little bit of rust pox on that side that I need to get out. That will take about 30 minutes. But don't worry, I wasn't about to make you watch that. As of right now, I'm starting to grind down the blade, which is actually going super quickly with these new belts. I'm trying to make sure the blade has enough angle that it'll take off a bunch of metal, because right now it's like a pound and a half, which, if you weren't aware, is really heavy for a cleaver. I mean, I guess you wouldn't have any trouble chopping through your meat. You chop through the bones if you like to. I'm leaving the edge just a little bit thick so that when I quench it, it doesn't quench weirdly. I'm actually using used engine oil right now. I wouldn't really recommend it because it does not take the heat out of your blade as fast as like canola oil does, but it's just what I had on hand, so that's what I used. I'm going to normalize the blade because it's probably under a lot of stress from beating out the edge like I did. I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly do not want my blade to crack. Now I'm heating it up so that I can quench it. I usually heat up my blades to the point where they become non-magnetic, because when steel hits the critical temperature, it is just above the non-magnetic stage. Now that it's pretty hot, I'm just making sure that the heat is pretty even before I quench. And also, don't quench in plastic buckets. It's a very bad idea. I almost lost all my oil because I quenched in a bucket like this. I'm actually just doing an edge quench right now. I really don't want to quench the whole thing because it's such a big blade, the chances of it warping are pretty high. bucket on fire? No, water. Let's put water out with an oil fire. Wait, put it out with a water fire. It's just gonna melt over the sides now.
You're gonna waste all that oil though.
I don't have a way to fix that. I can't.
Well, you have to remember not to use a plastic bucket next time. Maybe they use a metal bucket for a reason. What is that? Is it boiling?
Yeah. What was that? Anyways, after all that weirdness, it's really now time to see if it actually got hard. It was out of the bucket more time than I would have liked it to be. Yeah, I guess it's pretty hard. If you can hear the difference, it's actually like digging into the back of the handle where I did not quench it, and it like kind of skates across the blade, which is a good sign. The only reason that I sand the blade is just so that I can see the metal to see if it got a golden look after the temper, which I'll be doing next. I tempered it in the oven at 400 degrees for 2 hours to get that desired golden look. It's a little darker than I wanted it to be, but it still will work just fine. The handle did receive a little bit of a warp. I think it was just because it was really heavy and it was soft when I took it out of the furnace, so it probably just warped when I was holding it with the tongs. I'm just going to heat it up and try to bend it back. I need to make sure that this blade does not heat up too hot or I'll ruin the heat treatment in the edge itself, and that would not be good because then I'd have to normalize it and then heat treat it again. Now that I'm done bending the handle, I'm just trying to make sure that I get it down to as fine of a grit as I can on the belt sander before I do the hand sanding part. Because the more I take off with the belt sander is the less I have to take off by hand. Yeah, looking at the rate this thing's going, this is going to take a very long time. I guess I'll do the rest of this side off camera because I don't need to load my phone with hours of just sanding footage. Okay, that's a 120. Now I'm going to move to a 320 finish, and 320 is the finest sandpaper I have. So I guess that's where I'm going to stop. There we go. I think I am done with the hand sanding for this side of the cleaver. That took 2 hours and 2.5 hours. Okay, I am finally done sanding this. I sanded it down to a 320 finish, which is the finest sandpaper I have on hand at the moment. Someday, soon, I will be getting much finer, but I'll run this on the polishing wheel for a little bit, and it should look fine. But anyway, it's lethal already. Can't quite shape though. Anyway, it's also like 5:30 in the morning, and I haven't gone to sleep yet. I don't get up early, and I don't typically get to bed late, so this is not normal. I'm going to make the back portion of the handle out of walnut and the front portion out of brass. I used walnut because it's a hardwood and I can polish on the polishing wheel, and it just pretty much looks nice for pretty much any knife you ever could make. Here are our scales. I don't have a lot of brass, but I know I have a piece in here that will work for the front portion of the handle. I lost the footage of where I cut the piece in half, but as you can see, it's in 2 pieces now, and I ground flat the sides of the round things so that it would like stay still when I went to drill it. I also drilled holes in the scales and the tang of the knife, which I guess wasn't really important for you to see anyway. Now I'm just working on grinding down the brass pieces to the shape that I want them to be. That was way more epoxy than I needed. Along with putting a pin in it, I'm gonna put epoxy and glue them down, mainly so there won't be any wiggle room and so there will be no gaps between the brass thing and the handle, just in case it's not completely flat. I'm smashing flat the pin so that it like expands inside of the brass thing so that it holds it down really tightly, and also so that it does not leave any gap around the hole of the pin. When I start grinding my handles, I never really have an exact picture of what I'm going to have, so I just like get my idea of what I'll have as I grind, because I just figure out what I'm doing on the way. These belts also cut wood a lot faster, so as you can see, it's cutting it pretty quickly. I am now working on sanding the handle. It takes a while, but it's like so boring I really don't need to show you very much of it. So I'll just show you a few seconds of the first part I did, and then I'll just skip ahead to the polishing. At first I use the Dremel tool to get it much finer, and then I use sandpaper and just smooth it out from there till I get it very smooth. I really like the way that walnut polishes. Because it's a hardwood, it polishes pretty nicely. So I'm going to be doing that instead of like staining or polyurethaning it. Hey there, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you liked this cleaver, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of basically the same stuff. It has been so much fun making this cleaver with you guys. Thank you so much again for watching it through, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. You can buy this knife off of Etsy. Look up PB Blacksmithing, and you can find my shop.